Good people, it's your boy Uncle Fred back in the house, back in the saddle one more again. Couple things we gonna talk about tonight. We're not gonna be here long. We ain't doing nothing. We all snowed in here, so may as well talk some Cowboys. First of all, we're still talking about the disaster that was Sunday afternoon. We just talked a little bit about that. It's still fresh on my mind. But there's some things that have come out since then. There's been a report from James Slater about a couple things, couple of observations that an anonymous player has made about the coaching staff and about the quarterback, and when it comes to certain situations. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and then we're also going to talk about meeting that was held, a closed door meeting, sort of, I guess you could say, the closeout meeting with Jerry and some of the players. Um, where he listed some things that he thought were important. I don't know where they paid attention or not. And then I just listened to a spirited conversation, if you will. I guess this went on before the game last night between the Bucks and the Eagles, between um, Demarcus. Um, uh, I can't think of his name. Um, and Robert Griffith and a bunch of others on the staff on the game day, and so some things in which they thought are wrong with the Cowboys. It was some interesting observations, and then another thing, it keeps getting worse. So there was an after party promotion victory party being promoted by a couple of Cowboy players before the game. That's really not something you want to get out. And then of course, then the Cowboys got some interesting decisions to make as it relates to free agents, the in-house free agents that we want to sign. I got a few of them listed up on my thumbnail here, and I guess we can talk about that for a little while. So sit back with Uncle Fred for just a little bit, and we'll talk about those things and a few more.
Two times on the
Once again, good evening, everybody. It's Uncle Fred back in the house, back in the saddle one more again. Just a little bit of content. Please hit that like, comment, and subscribe. That like is kind of like currency. Uh, Comment, join in the chat if you're here with me and talk with your boy. I kind of get a little bit of satisfaction from that. And we're gonna talk just a few minutes about a few things, and then we're gonna soon be done. Uh, First thing, let me get back to my captions. So I was listening to y'all would be surprised how much content I listen to in a day, and sometimes I listen to more content um, from different content creators, different other things, film people and stuff like that. Then I watch the news. Sometimes because for those that don't know, in the neck of the woods I live in, we're kind of snowed in. Had been to work in 2 days, not gonna go to work tomorrow either. So it's like goodness, getting kind of cabin fever here. You know what I'm saying? So, um, but I find myself in the morning. I get up and there's certain programs and different content that I watch. In the afternoon, there's certain content I watch, and after the evenings, there's certain things that I watch. That sometimes my wife is like, "Oh, did you not watch the news?" So no, I actually hadn't watched the news. I've been watching cowboy content all day. About different things and different people's um, perspectives on the things that as cowboy fans are dealing with and stuff like that. So, but anyway, there was a report that came out today, or it may have been late yesterday, and I kind of dug in a little bit on it. Any of you might know who Jane Slater is. She's a reporter that works for NFL Network, but she also is sort of like set aside really to the Cowboys. She really is like the Cowboys in NFL Network reporter. Okay. And so there's a report this morning. I was listening to it on Mike Fisher. It's actually been reported by another reporter also, which is part of CowboySI.com, Richie Witt, that there was an anonymous player that sort of, and I kind of hate it when those guys, but I mean, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't know some of the things that we find out about, right? So, because you kind of feel like you're betraying somebody's trust here, because in the locker room, what do they always say? What happens in the locker room usually is supposed to stay in the locker room, right? Um, so anyway, um, but anyway, this report says that they talked to this reporter, talked to this anonymous player, and people don't want to put their names on it because people will be looking at them sideways. But apparently, this player stated that the coaches were stubborn to to do some of the same schemes and stuff that had worked for them all season. I'm actually looking at the report right now, um, coming from Frisco, Texas, and they always are talking about different things. This mentions how everybody's kind of mostly supports Mike McCarthy and his leadership and his culture, but then a player was frustrated with a stubbornness to stick with schemes on both sides of the ball. Motion offense, which that was killing defenses. And as you watch the game, you notice that the offense was stagnant a lot. Wasn't any motion. There was a lot of runs out of shotgun and no motion and no shifting and no anything. It was a lot of. If you notice the game, there was a lot of the stuff that went against what they had been doing all season. And you watch them. If you watch that game the previous Sunday against Washington. Now I know it's a different level of competition, but we acting like Green Bay won 13 games. They won 10 games. Okay. And they had the number 25 defense in the NFL. So it's not like they were some sort of juggernaut. And 3-4 weeks before that, they gave up 30 points to the Giants and made Tommy DeVito NFC Offensive Player of the Week. So, was no reason for them to jump what has worked on everybody, that they have played against. But according to this player, there was a stubbornness to do some stuff that had worked. And I noticed it on a lot of the first few drives where they would run it on first down, and then it'd be 2nd and 8. Then dadgummit, you run it again on 2nd down and get 1 yard, 2. I mean, what are you doing? So now you got this high pressure 3rd down, and if it's 3rd and 2, 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, that's you can run any play in the book, but it's like 3rd and 5 and above. That kind of like that's a higher pressure kind of play that needs to be called. But anyway, it goes on to say that those two things was going on and stuff, and then of course you look at the defense, and we said it was going on both sides of the ball. Do not know, Crypt Keeper. You back with me again, man? You must like me all right, man. I must be doing all right. Appreciate you joining. I don't know, man. I know one thing, Crypt Keeper, that if they're going to do this thing, they need to go on and do it quick and don't let the dude twist in the wind. And another reason, if they're going to do it, go ahead and do it, because at some point, it's about 7 other teams that need a coach. The best one's going to get scooped up while you playing nursery rhymes and stuff. So that's just what I say, whatever that's worth. It's worth probably what you pay for a cup of coffee, right? But anywho, but anyway, it goes on this, and so you notice it also on the defense. We've been playing man-to-man, sticky man-to-man defense all year, and then for some reason in this particular game, they went to playing zone defense. And not like and understand this, playing zone defense is not like Because I mean, man defense is pretty self-explanatory. I got this guy, you got that guy, you got that guy, you got that guy. When they hike it, you wherever he goes, I'm going. Wherever he goes, he goes. Wherever that guy goes, he goes. And you go where they go. But in zone, I'm covering an area. If he comes out of my area and goes to another guy is supposed to have that communication where he knows, okay, if he comes by, I know to pick that up. So it's a lot of communication and coordination is needed to play zone defense. Zone defense is harder to play than man. So why would you go to playing something that's more complicated to play and something you hadn't played a whole lot of all year? Now, sometimes they play a zone where you have some zone underneath stuff where like you play man on the outside and then sometimes the linebackers or some of the safeties will play zone in the middle of the field, that sort of thing. But the outside guys were playing zone and were playing off. And so this particular player was saying that on both sides of the football that there was like it was almost like I don't know, maybe they got scared. It's like, oh, we just want to play because zone is supposed to be a more conservative play, but it gives up plays and if you when you play zone, what you're supposed to be doing is you're giving up small chunks of plays in the middle of the field to not give up a big play over the top. So, but again, if you got a team third and whatever, third and 8, third and 12, third and 10, you might want to play some man and keep the guy short of the line the game. And then there was one particular third and long where they dropped Micah into coverage. And I'm like, come on, dude. I know Micah didn't really do a whole lot, but some of that is due to where they positioned him. But anyway, that player wasn't done. He had more to say. It was more that he had to say. He went on to say, "Oh, I'm a youngster now. Wow, yeah, I didn't know I was a youngster. Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that. The gray hair on my face. Thanks you too. But anywho, he goes on to say too that Dak also tends to when his first read isn't there, tends to panic, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but I agree with it on Sunday because I saw it on Sunday. But I have seen him on many occasions in regular games that the stakes aren't as high as that. So that's kind of part of the thing too, because what you're supposed to do when the stakes are high, you're supposed to keep that same level. That's what the good ones and the great ones do. And sometimes the young ones do because, Jordan Love played at a high level. They never even seen or smelled the playoffs before. So did C.J. Stroud for Houston. Never played in a playoff game before, but you would have never known it if you watched him play, right? But anywho, they said that that he tends to do that. So yeah, that's significant on a couple of fronts. One, there's certainly a point to be made in Dallas's self-examination in this particular game, which was colossal because, like I said yesterday, never had a 7 seed ever won a game. And not only did they won in big fashion. But also the other thing is this particular player coming forward kind of violates a trust. It's like I said before, usually when a player, whatever happens in the locker room, you got a trust factor. That's why the player wanted to maintain an anonymity because it never should get out. They never wanted to get out that who said this. Now, eventually, this thing keeps circling around. Somebody's going to tell that. But that reporter don't want it to get out because they want to get more stories from this player. Whatever else, what other stuff, what other dirt you want to give me. So that's kind of how that works. But that's sort of, I kind of hate that. But some of that, I saw that in the game. It was evident that there was something going on with the offense and defense that didn't go as well like the rest of the games of the season. It didn't go as high the rest of the season was going. It was like night and day. Now, it goes on to say that on offense that Dak made 4 egregious high schoolish mistakes, and I'm gonna spill them out here. One of them I'm gonna argue with them on because I watched some other content today on some film study, And I'll discuss that here. But it said he made four egregious high schoolish mistakes in the first half. Um, First, it said a blanketed throw to a forced throw to a blanketed receiver for an interception. They're talking about that little slant route to Cooks that uh, what's his name Zaire Alexander intercepted, which I contend was a slight pull of the jersey that kept Cooks from getting to that, but still it still was tight quarters coverage, and probably shouldn't have been thrown, but it got thrown, and most of it could have been like an incomplete pass and a pass breakup. But the dude made a good play on the ball and he intercepted it. But that's one he probably shouldn't have thrown. Then it says here that, and I remember this too, and I said the same thing on this particular one. Um, he he took a sack in the second quarter that knocked them out of field goal range, which to me, I think they still were in field goal range because Aubrey's made them from 60 plus before. So I think they could have kicked the field goal, but they probably didn't want to take a chance. But yeah, he was out of the tackle box. He was out to that. Just throw the thing out of bounds. Don't take the sack, but sometimes you got a lot of stuff going through your head. You want to see, you want to still make the play. You don't want to throw it away. You want to get closer. You actually want to make the first down and you want to keep the drive going. So I understand that, but sometimes you got to know when the journey's over. And so he took that 6-7 yard sack that pushed him technically out of field goal range, and they ended up having to punt. And of course, Green Bay took that, went right down the field. I think it was 14-0 at the time. They went right down the field. The next thing you know, it's 20-0. Right? Um, and then it said a horrible misread led to leading to a pick six. Now that one I'm going to argue with him on based on something I found out today. Like, I watch, like times I watch, like I say, you'd be surprised at some of the content I end up finding myself looking at when I'm scrolling and something. Let me check this out. So many that don't know, Kurt Warner, who he's a Hall of Fame quarterback, used to be for the Rams, Giants, and Cardinals. Went to Super Bowls with both the Rams and the Cardinals, not the Giants, but those two teams. But he has like a film study thing that he does where he breaks apart film and actually does stuff with quarterbacks and different things like that. And so he went in and did a deep study on that pick six that Dak threw in the second quarter, midway through the second quarter, that led it to it being 27-0. Because that was a drive right after the drive where he took the sack, right? And so he says, whereas, yes, Dak did throw the pick, but the concept of how that particular design of that play was done, it would lead to those kind of things happening because the concept was wrong. And I'm like, what is he talking about? So he brought the play out, had his little pen and telestrator, and he says, now what the concept that they ran here, and at some point when I get my channel up and good where I can do like graphics and bring up film and share screens and stuff like that, I'll be able to show you. So until I can do that, I'll just have to tell it to you. Or I can just tell you to go watch Kurt Warner's YouTube channel on film. He'll show you the same thing. But he was saying that, the concept was the Cowboys ran two slant routes, slanting the same or slanting towards each other at the same depth. So essentially, it allowed one cornerback to come off of his guy and intercept the ball that the other guy was covering. And he says, now, if you're going to run two slants, the smart way to do it, if you're a good play caller or a good play designer, that they should have been at different depths. For instance, if you ran one at 7 yards, the other one should have been like 12 yards, so that the other guy wouldn't be close enough to come off of his guy and intercept the ball of the other guy. Because that's exactly what happened. CeeDee Lamb ran two steps, cut inside of his guy, and Dak was supposed to, make the two-step drop, drill the ball in there, but the play also had a pump fake in it, which threw the timing off. So by the time he got to the throw, this guy that was covering Cooks came off of Cooks and cut across in front of CD and intercepted the ball. But if that route on Cooks was ran at 12 yards, he couldn't have done that. Essentially, you should never have two receivers in the same vicinity at the same time, because that allows one defender to cover two dudes. And you should never do that in any sport. I see it in basketball. You got one guy running around the court and he runs to where another guy is, but you bringing all the defenders over there too. So that's why you're supposed to spread the court. So if you had two dudes running the same slant routes on the opposite sides of the field, they were only like 4 yards apart from each other. So one guy could essentially double cover the other guy once the ball left. A bad concept, but you still shouldn't have thrown it, you know. But it all was bang bang, and that, to me, that was the critical throw, because that's the throw that kind of made it where that game probably was not going to be won. Because if that pick six doesn't happen, and let's say we go down, we eat up some more clock, and we get a touchdown there, and it's 20-7, and it's 20-7 at halftime. Maybe we come down and get a touchdown in the second half, and it's 20-14. Who knows? It's a totally different ball game. But then when that made it 27-0, unless the team it helped you in your comeback effort, fumbles, interceptions, throwing the ball on 3 consecutive downs, killing the clock, there really wouldn't have been enough time to do that. So I kind of contend with them on that. It was just a play that kind of happened, and it was bad design, the timing was off, and it's because it's a pick six, we like, dang, he got fooled on that. But no, he really didn't get fooled. The guys were so close together that one guy covered the other guy's guy, and he shouldn't have been able to do that, because it wasn't CD's guy that intercepted the ball. It was Cook's guy, and Cook's guy shouldn't have been close enough to do that. But as a quarterback, you get the blame for that, because that's why you get the big bucks. You carry the blame. That's why at the end of the game, who's standing to take the bullets and stuff with the media? It's Dak Prescott. Where was Micah Parsons slipping out the back door with his Bobby Boucher jersey on? Okay, just saying. When you're the quarterback, you have to take those arrows. That's part of it. You take the credit when you win, you take the blame when you lose. And even if you throw an interception, it may not even be your fault. If the defender or the receiver might have tipped it in the air, it's still your fault because you threw it, and you are the quarterback. So that's that. So the other thing was, he threw a pass short of the goal line right before halftime. I saw that he threw it to CeeDee Lamb. And I guess he was expecting CeeDee Lamb to do what he did last week against the Commanders, where he took it and kind of broke some tackles and had pushed the ball across. But the Packers didn't let him do that. And if it had not been for a penalty for was it offsides or whatever it was, they would have never got another crack at that, and we would have went to the halftime down 27-0. So those are the 4 things that they supposedly they saw that happened in there. So they're saying in here, does that mean that Dak panicked? And then going into the defense, they talked about how the defense was humiliated, and they talked about that pass to Musgrave. That's been on all the shows, because he was 17.2 yards open before there was anybody in the screen. And one of the shows I was watching today, they had a still shot of that, and they said you got to pan that thing out so far to see where the closest defender is. And basically, it was like he was catching a punt. And so what kind of defense would you be running where a guy goes completely undetected down the field and basically standing down there doing this? So everybody didn't play well. So, but this report is eye-opening because, and then it went on for special teams too. They're talking about Cavante Turpin running a kickoff off, which I kind of forgot about that play, running the kickoff out of the end zone, 2 yards deep into the end zone. And, when he could have just took a knee and got 25 yards, instead he went out to got to the 11. So you were like 13, 14 yards short of where you could have, knowing we needed every advantage field position wise. And then, of course, Sam Williams, bumping the guy. I thought that was some BS right there, though, because he didn't touch the guy. When they showed the side view, he kind of glanced to the side of him and kind of didn't touch him, because you got to get close, because what if he bobbles it, Because my question was, because on that same play, I thought Brian Anger got bumped after he kicked it and he fell. and the ref didn't call nothing there. And then this guy does the same thing, but he gets the call. So I had some issues with that. But anyway, so that's a problem there. Certainly a report from a player about his disillusionment or whatever is sort of a thing that you don't like to see happen because it like breaks the trust, but it sort of gives you an eyewitness view into what's going on in the locker room and stuff like that. So I don't know. It's probably going to be a whole lot of more things that's going to come out of this monumental, colossal loss as the time goes on. Um, let's see. If Gray is still there. If Gray is still there. Yes, sir. That's true. That's true. They kind of took it for granted that they were going to be the seventh seed. Yes, Crip, and that leads me to my next point, Crip Keeper. I like that because you make me giving me. I gotta think, man. Makes me think because I was watching this other YouTube guy. I think his name is Dak Attack or something like that. But anyhow, he had a report that the Cowboys and the two dudes I just mentioned on the special teams had some sort of after party that they were pumping up on Instagram and all these different social media platforms that they was wanting to have, before the game. It was a victory party that you doing before the game, which I mean, I guess that happens. Don't nobody plan a party after the thing. You always plan it, but it's just not a good look that you up there planning parties. And it was Sam Williams and Cavante Turpin. That's who it was. And those are the two dudes that kind of special team wise made gaffes in the game. And it's just kind of not a good look if you're doing that kind of stuff before the game. It's sort of like you took them for granted, like you were trying to say, Crypt Keeper. Like, oh yeah, we're gonna win this. We're gonna win this game, and we can use our C game prep to win. And they forgot that Mike LaFleur is the guy on the other side. Matt LaFleur, excuse me, not Mike. Mike LaFleur is his brother. Matt LaFleur, I'm sorry. And he's a good play caller, very good play caller. And he's from that Shanahan tree. Him, McVay, Shanahan, him, McVay, Bobby Slowick, all them dudes, man, come from the same tree, and they believe in motion and all this stuff, misdirection and getting mismatches and all that stuff, getting you out of your element, having you guard a guy with a guy that has no business guarding that guy, guarding wide receivers with linebackers. He specializes in setting you up for things like that. So they underestimated his play calling prowess, in my opinion. So those guys, man, and my thing is, if you're gonna fire Mike McCarthy, you get one of them dudes. You get one of them dudes. Yeah, and they probably took it for granted they was gonna free agent. Maybe it'll be a free agent status player moving on. Maybe. The pick six did seal the game because that kind of because I still had hope until while it was 20-0 because you get a touchdown, it's a 13-point game. You got the whole second half. You get the ball first, and you know who knows what might have happened. But when it became 27-0, it's like, dang, that's a 4-score game. That means you got to score 4 times, and at some point, if they gotta be stopped from scoring also. So you knew at that point, like, dog, we don't have a chance now. So, but anyhow, anyway, so those are the things on those things that I saw in terms of stuff that went on with the game. And as I said, there's probably going to be more stuff coming out of the game as this. Because I said this was a colossal game, a catastrophic collapse of epic proportions. I don't know how any better way to. That's why I'm on 3 days in a row talking about it. I don't think I've been on 3 days in a row since I started this channel. I usually go about 2 times a week. I go game day or maybe a pregame, maybe the day of the game, and then maybe 2 or 3 days later do a midweek report. I don't think I've ever done 3 days in a row. But this loss was so cataclysmic that it warranted to be talked about. And the first day, I was like, okay. The day after, what are you thinking? What are your feelings after you? Because after the game, you're thinking, hell, fire everybody, get rid of everybody, get rid of all 53, and start from scratch, right? Because you're emotional, you caught up in your emotions, right? You caught up in your feelings. But then sometimes you get to sleep on stuff, and you're like, okay, what can we reasonably change and can give us a chance to play next year and still put ourselves in contention and still and enough change where it could make a difference. Okay. But keep it in mind, you can't bring all three of them dudes back. When I say three dudes, I mean Mike, I'm talking about Dak, and I'm talking about Dan. Can't bring all three of them dudes back. You just can't. I said it yesterday. Can't do it. Can't do it. Because that would be a middle finger, and I'm not going to do that because I don't do that. That would be a middle finger to us fans. Okay, that's basically like saying, "Oh, I know y'all coming to the games and gonna buy all our memorabilia and all of our stuff, and we could just go warm up the dinner that we cooked for you yesterday, and you're gonna eat it, and I will not be taken for granted like that." And so yeah, you're gonna have to do something, make some changes. Some changes have to be made. Now, since we're talking about that, there was like I said, a spirited conversation that was had, which I didn't watch the pregame on the game last night with the Eagles and the Bucks, but there was a lot of buzz going on before the game between Marcus Spears. I couldn't think of his name in my buffer. Marcus Spears, Ryan Clark, RG3, um, um, SVP, because it's all on ESPN. So all those guys, they was all talking. Oh, and Ryan, Rex, not Rex. Yeah, Rex Ryan. I'm sorry, I was thinking it was Rob Ryan. No, it was Rex. And so they was all talking about what the Cowboys need, and and I had a silly thought just now is that maybe Jerry's even like it, even though we lost the game. Hey, they still talking about us, and we out the playoffs, and we're the main topic of discussion because he comes from the school that as long as they talking about us, it don't even matter. Even if it's good news or bad news, they're still talking about us, so it's good. We're good because they're talking about us. We're in the paper. We're still notable because that's all they talked about. It was because Marcus Spears played for us and he played 8 years. I think he played from '04 to 12, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. He played 8 years, uh, and so he said I was there when Bill Parcells was there, and he says that he was talking about that you can bring a coach in because he said because he said his team is talented, but they've been talented before, and the same thing always happens. So he said, and they was talking about different coaches and talking about Belichick. He said you could bring Belichick in. He said, but we brought in Bill Parcells. He said I was there when they brought in T.O. and Bill Parcells didn't want him, but he got overruled because Parcells didn't like T.O. because T.O. was kind of even though he's talented, he's sort of a chemistry breaker in the locker room, right? He's like one of them guys that you got to think among yourself, is he all in or is he about self? Even though he's a great player and made some great plays for us, but he wasn't nowhere near one of my favorite players. Okay. I really wasn't a T.O. fan. But, when he played for us, I rooted for him because he plays for the Cowboys, right? But I thought he drove a wedge tried to draw a wedge between Tony and Witten and the other receivers and stuff. I'm like, dude, we all a team here, So, but yeah, Parcells didn't want him, but Jerry overrode him. So he was like, these are the kind of things that you got to deal with if you think you're going to coach the Cowboys. That's the dynamic you got to deal with. That's the power conundrum that you're going to find yourself in, Now, Ryan Clark said something interesting. He said, you would have think that as he has his mortality, and I'm going to talk about the meeting they had today too, and that's going to be one of the other topics we'll talk about. You would think that he's 81, going to be 82, and when is his birthday? It is birthday in like June or something like that. So he's gonna be 82 here in a little bit. And how many, you look at him when we was winning Super Bowls, he was my age. All right. He was my age. He looked a whole lot different than he looks now, right? Looks disheveled. He's got, work done on his face. His cheeks are all tight like that. He kind of don't get around as well as he's older. How many more of these you gonna get? How stubborn are you gonna be? He's also stubborn, just like the coaches was reported to being stubborn, right? How many more years are you gonna be stubborn about? Oh, this is the way we're gonna do it, and not realize that, dude, you might not have too many more years at this, and it's not worked for 29 years doing it the way you're doing it. Can you kind of back up just a little bit to let some guys in there to kind of get this thing done before because it would be good for him to get him another one. I get an old guy a lot of guff, but I'd like the old guy to get him another one before he dies. But sometimes people are so stubborn they don't realize that they're their own worst enemy. Because it's not benefiting you to have that much control. What have you gaining by that? You're not gaining anything by that, but you're delaying your own gratification. Then you don't even know it. And he said, if you get a guy like Bill Belichick, yeah, you're not fixing to. And there's another thing they were talking about. Oh God, what show was I watching? And he was saying the one thing that a coach that's used to that kind of control and power gonna have to understand is that Jerry's going to talk. He wants to talk. He loves hearing himself talk. So when you're trying to keep things close to the vest, like for instance, Belichick will wait to the last minute to tell you if he was the coach, because I've seen how he's done in New England. He will wait to the last possible moment to tell you who he's starting at quarterback or who's hurt, who's coming back from injury. And he's like, yeah, well, we don't know yet. He's going to give basically he's going to get the media one-word answers because getting answers from him is like pulling teeth. Then Jerry goes on 105.3 the fan and like, oh, yeah, such and such is going to play. Yeah, we're going to go ahead and play such and such is going to be there. And he's like, dang, can you let me kind of do this thing? I got this cat. Can you just hold the tail? But he wants the whole thing. See? And that's kind of like micromanaging. You kind of like undermining the coach's authority. See, and the coach really needs to have, and like one of the things I've always said, a coach needs to, a team needs to reflect the personality of the coach. He sets the temperature. He's the thermostat for what the team is. And if you notice, ever since, up for other than them 3 years we have Bill Parcells, most of the coaches that we've had are what I would call milquetoast coaches. They were like, blah, meh personalities. But if you saw the halftime of Jimmy Johnson and how pissed off he was, how they was playing at halftime, that's the kind of coach you want that'll get them guys, and I guarantee you, had he been the coach and Mike McCarthy had the flu, said, hey, I got this, and he went in there, I bet you they come down and they scored 21 points coming out the thing because he'd have been on their hide. Sometimes you need that rather than say, okay, guys, let's get it together. No, he's like, no, get your rear end in there. We're going to win this. If you can't play, get off my field. I'll get somebody who will. Sometimes you need a guy like that. So, yeah, if you saw that guy at the halftime, I caught bits and pieces of it. But Mike Strahan thought he was playing around. Jimmy Johnson was pissed off for real about that. He was really pissed off. I'm going to the chats and see what else is on here. Well, I play zone, man. But yeah, that's right. Yeah, you played man all season, and you're good at that. Now, something I heard today, Brad, and appreciate you for joining us tonight, man. Appreciate you so much, man. Hit the like button, all of y'all, while you're in here, please, if y'all don't mind. Something I heard today, I don't know if any truth is to it, but supposedly, and I had kind of forgot about this. It came to my attention that Gilmore was hurt because he got his shoulder hurt in the game against the Commanders where he made that play in the second quarter and where he stretched out and of course all of his weight went on his shoulder and basically his shoulder popped out of socket and then they went back in the thing and popped it back in, and then all during the week it's like, yeah, but it popped it back in, but the next day it was hurting because you didn't stretch them ligaments and different things in there when the shoulder come out. When you pop it back in, it'll take a couple of days to get it back in. Of course, he's wearing some kind of harness on it. So maybe they played zone to kind of protect him or something. I don't know. That's the only dude I remember they said it was injured, because other than that, we had a completely injury free, um, you know, report that I had heard from leading up to the game. But then when they were saying that there was maybe a guy in our secondary that was hurt, I was like, wait a minute, the only guy I know about is Gilmore. And I said, oh yeah, Gilmore was did have that shoulder, and I guess you would imagine if you had a shoulder harness on, it might would limit your, it won't limit your mobility to run, but it will limit your mobility to, say, defend passes, because you might not have that range of motion with that shoulder that you might normally would have. So I don't know, but being that as it may, zone defense requires too much communication, too much coordination, and for you to do, having not done much of it all season, it was just going to end in the disaster any way you slice it. But I don't see that working out too well. I mean, I like it from the discipline perspective, but I think it's going to be a tug of war, because I think Belichick, he coached there 24 years. You kind of get set in your own ways. You got set in your way of doing things. But remember this, like I said yesterday, that way that he wants to coach only worked because he had a quarterback that was submissive to that. And because he was so accomplished and allowed him to, basically like Tim Duncan in the NBA. Greg Popovich talked about him like a dog. And so if you're Steven Jackson, or if you're Tony Parker, or if you're any of those guys, you'd be like, dang, he talking to Tim Duncan like that. I guess I got to get in line. So that allowed him to do that. And then once Tom's gone, mother dude was like, no, man, you ain't finna be talking to me crazy. And so he had to, and remember we talked about that. Today's players don't like hard coaching. They don't like kicking in the pants coaching. They don't like that. So I don't know if that'll work or not. I think Dak would be okay with that, because Dak seems like, from everybody I've heard say, Dak is a company guy. Whatever the coach said, whatever you say, coach. I think he'd be one of them guys that wouldn't flare up at the coach. The coach could tell him anything. Yeah, okay, sure, coach, whatever you want. Oh, it's in October. Okay, thanks, appreciate that, Chris Johnson. Appreciate that. Losing the playoffs with talented teams has become a habit in Dallas. Yeah, because nobody can say that we're not talented. It's just a matter of, putting pen to paper. It's just like having thoughts in your head and not being able to put them on paper. It's all up here, but you can't make any kind of, you can't do anything with it. And it just seems like, yeah, Crib Keeper, yeah, he was hot. I guess you were talking about Jimmy Johnson. He was hot, man. And I remember him, they would show sometimes back in the 90s. I remember that they would show him in the locker room. Yeah, man. He some of that stuff you can't do now. Yeah, you got a losing record without Tom Brady. Got a losing record without Tom Brady. So Tom Brady was a great one. He was a great one. He was a great one. But I will say this: Tom Brady wasn't as good without him either, because now they won that one year, but there was a lot of those years in Tampa, those 2 other years at Tampa, that I thought those teams was better than any of those teams he had his last 5 years in New England. But because the structure was used to being pancaked by Bruce Arians, that you couldn't kind of get them to, play the way Bill had them playing up there in Foxborough. They got that one championship, and then they brought everybody back, and, they kind of weren't as good the next year. And, guys was, you know, and see, Bill wouldn't let them rest on their laurels. That's why the Patriots was good every year. They would, go to the Super Bowl, win it, then lose the Super Bowl the next year and come back the next year. They went to the Super Bowl for like 3 years in a row and like 4 out of 5 years, because he never let them rest on their laurels. You're like, no, what happened last year don't even exist. We got to start over. And I think that whole thing, Tom was having a problem selling that to the guys in Tampa because they ain't never won before. They were like, giddy. Yeah, we won a Super Bowl. Like, yeah, it don't mean nothing. We 0-0 now. We got to do the same thing again because we're not the same teams we were last year. Other teams got better. The Rams got better. They got marginally better. I mean, extremely better. They got Stafford and OBJ and Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey, and they got better, and they whooped them in the playoffs. So so they he didn't win much. He didn't do well without Tom, but Tom won without him with a talented team. But the structure in Tampa wasn't the same as it was. And if Belichick had that team that Tom had in New England, they'd have won three more Super Bowls. Because look how good Mike Evans and Chris Godwin were even last night with Baker Mayfield. You don't think if they had Brady and Belichick was coaching them, they wouldn't be, and a lot of those players are still there. Vita Vea is still there. David is still there. Carlton Davis is still there. Antoine Whitfield is still there. There's still a lot of, I think, White, Devin White, I think he's still there. So it's a lot of players that won Super Bowls and a couple of offensive linemen. There's a lot of guys that are still there that was on those teams that won Super Bowls. So still a lot of talent on that team. Antonio Brown quit on the team and cost them a shot at back-to-back. Antonio Brown is a whole nother story. I'm gonna tell you something, Crypt Keeper. Antonio Brown, I could do a video on Antonio Brown, and he'd be the subject of the whole video. Because I was going to do one. You remember that year that he left them, and remember they went and played the Jets, and he took his clothes off and and paraded across the field and left the game at halftime or whatever the heck he did. Yeah, I was gonna do a video on that because I'm like, what the heck's going on here, And it never came together. I was gonna do a video on that and then kind of do some research because there were some things he went through at home with his mom and stuff. His mom married some other dude, and the dude was trying to, be a dad to him, and he and the dad was fighting all the time, and he had to leave home, and there was a lot of turmoil with that, and I think that led to him being sort of like a, troubled guy that he ended up being. Like I said, I had a whole bunch of research I had done on that, and it's still kind of in my mind that I had done, but I never did do the video for some reason or another on him. But nah, not really. It's a good character study, Crypt Keeper, because a lot of times people have mental illness issues because of how they were brought up and stuff. And it's a lot of times they're cautionary tales, so you don't end up being like that, So a lot of times it's good to see those kind of things so that, because a lot of times you show that to other kids, that keeps them from making the same mistakes, So what I'm saying is he had sort of a lack of respect for authority even when he was at home. And for some reason that never got fostered. And so it kind of manifested itself when he became older. So but anyway, today there was a meeting that they had, a closed door meeting that they had, and I guess the players came in, and I guess that's what it was, like the exit meeting. They met with Jerry, and apparently Jerry had basically talked to the players about his own mortality and things, and they basically said that everything was there for us on the platter this year, and it was. I don't agree with Jerry on a whole lot of things, but he was dead on with that. Everything was on a platter. The Rubik's Cube lined up where you got the number 2 seed. Philadelphia continued to implode as they continued to implosion last night, and it led to you having the number 2 seed in the NFL NFC, and gave you a promise of 2 home games if you won them. And you could have never a month ago asked for a better scenario than that. You got all this stuff lined up, so it was laid out for them on a platter, and they spilt it. And for one thing or another, the coaches, not losing whatever faith in whatever they had been doing, starting to, do whatever they wanted to do other things, and it led to some disunity on the offense and defense. Uh, but he pointed out the urgency and his mortality, which, like we just talked about with Ron Clark, your mortality, and that basically how much time you figure you got left, probably should urge you to maybe do some things, maybe just a little bit differently, you know, because you really don't have to be the GM. That's an ego play. Like I said last night, that's an ego thing. That's his hubris. I have to be the GM. No, you don't. Now you can grade and evaluate the GM, and you're still in charge, Jerry. But you don't necessarily have to be the GM, okay? Because back in the day, people was like, he really still want to coach the Cowboys. Because there was a meme that I could coach the SHI, out of this team. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You can't coach. What you know about football, you learned like in the last couple of years. You don't know what coaches know. They eat, sleep, and drink that stuff. They go over play books and play sheets and watch film and stuff to no end. You're busy in business meetings and stuff. You know football on the surface level. You don't know what they know. You couldn't coach no team, but he thinks he can. You know, but I'm not gonna be. But anyway, he was talking about the urgency of that stuff, and um, and how every time is of the essence and all that, which we know, Jerry, time is on the essence. Not only on that front, but also while you got this cross section of talented players still in their prime. You know, you still got, whatever you think about Dak Prescott, you still have him. You still have CeeDee Lamb. You still have Micah Parsons. You still have Trayvon Diggs. And, and you still have, a few good offensive linemen that are still, and I think Tyler Smith is a premium player that's going to be the best tackle, best guard in the game in a couple of years. So you got about 6 players that are like perennially going to be all pro players. Okay. And Deron Bland is going to be a perennial all pro player, right? So while you still got these guys in the prime of their career, you might want to like take advantage and cash in on this before free agency comes and you start losing guys. So it ain't just about your mortality. Free agency has a mortality of its own because you start losing players. And then there's this other thing called the salary cap that you ain't gonna be able to keep all your players because they become too expensive. So yeah, every year is of urgency because every team loses about 33% of its players every season due to teams losing them through free agency, retirement. Tyron Smith might retire. We're gonna talk about that in a minute too. But yeah, so all those things. So I'm wondering. So the guy was wondering on the show I was watching that. I wonder how many of those players are really paying attention to that, because when you talk to young people in general about mortality things, it doesn't register to them. I talk to young people all the time about, like, hey man, make your time count. Don't count time. Make your time count. I talk to young people all the time about that. Like, hey man, enjoy this stuff. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your these things are different things. The job you might have, the relationship you have with maybe your significant other or your family members and stuff like that. I tell people, I say, enjoy that stuff, because those times don't be there forever. But when you're young, you think you had all the time in the world. You think but when you get my age, you realize that sand don't run back up into the hourglass. It just don't. So and so when you learn that, because when I was 20, I didn't think that way either. But and I did have people trying to tell me, hey man, you ain't always have this. You're not gonna always be able to jump and run and stuff like you used to. You better enjoy this free movement that you have. Enjoy you can think and remember things on a whim like you can. Because it's gonna come a time you ain't gonna be remembering basic things. How many times am I on a video and I can't remember somebody's name that I just wrote down? It just goes with the territory. So as he's talking about mortality, I bet you these young players are looking at their phone, doing all this stuff. I bet you that's what they were doing. They weren't paying attention to that. But that's just that's just the generation millennia that they are. Look at these chats. Feel like Detroit beating the Rams is a big deal. I actually had the Rams beating them because I thought, and I had a couple of plays bounced us a couple of ways that I think they could. That game was a 1 point game. The Rams were good. That Puka Nacua that's a bad man. Um, but yeah, I thought that game. I thought that was going to be an up and down game, and I think they were a fourth down play from and they didn't convert, and if they could have gotten a stop on third down. But Omen Ross St. Brown made a good play. Made a that was one of them throws that Dak threw that didn't get picked, but the receiver made an aggressive grab on the play that kept that play from getting intercepted. See, that was a slant too, that same kind of slant that Dak got that pick on that Cooks had. But you see, Amon-Ra St. Brown attacked the football. There was somebody I was watching today that was saying that when your quarterback is throwing that, you can't sit there and wait for the ball to come to you. Sometimes you got to go get between him and the football. So that's you saw Amon Ross St. Brown went and got the football and didn't, and basically boxed that dude out where he couldn't get the football. And sometimes you got to do that. But Lions are going crazy, and they deserve it, man. They ain't won a playoff game in 30 years since they beat us 38-6 back in January 1992. Not that I remember that. Think of all the talent the Cowboys have had over the years, and they have nothing to show for it. Jerry's at fault. He's some of the fault. He's probably 80% of it. There's some other things too. But because he doesn't hire, this was something that um, Ryan Clark says he doesn't hire. Actually, this was Steve Young. Steve Young was talking about this. He was talking to Dan Patrick. I told you, man, I watch a lot of content of different things, man. He was saying that Jerry don't hire guys that are empowered to be in charge. So the players don't really respect them. They like them. And you kind of want to respect your coach. You don't want to just like him. I guess they liked Jimmy too, but they respected Jimmy. They didn't want to piss Jimmy off, right? And so that's the thing. Tickets were $70, $40 for the Chiefs game. Of course, you know how cold it was in that game for the Kansas City Crypt Keeper? It was like 5 degrees below zero. Wind chill like -30. Well, I forget to turn the coffee pot on all the time. You're a Lion. Oh, you're a Lion fan. That's okay, man. That's good. That's good for y'all, man. Good for y'all. Y'all play Tampa Bay now, so hey, man. Y'all got y'all like them, and don't take them for granted. Don't think because Tampa Bay played a good game last night, but I think y'all on y'all way to the NFC Championship game, man. I really think y'all are. I really think y'all are. So we'll see what happens with that. Okay. Uh, what's going on, Cowboy Nation? Danny in the house, man. You got a long name, man. Appreciate you, man. You've been on before, man. You've been on like every night, man. Appreciate you rocking with me, man. Appreciate that. Uh, Next thing I'm gonna talk about, and we're gonna close this video out, man. We've been on here almost an hour, man. I wasn't expecting to be on here, but 30 minutes, but it'd be longer when you got chats because you want to talk to your people. So y'all be making the video longer, but I appreciate it. We're gonna talk about there's something that I heard today on a content creator called Landlord. He's from Alabama. He has a podcast and show, and he was talking. He's out of Birmingham, actually. I'm up north. Alabama. So he had a show today, and he was saying that one of the things we're gonna have to do because we in the off season mode now. So we are going to before we even start talking about draft and these kind of things and free agent pickups and stuff like that, because we know we're gonna have to get some guys, but we ain't gonna get no free agent outside people. You already know that. But the thing we're gonna have to do is we're going to have to decide whether we're going to retain or send off free agents that are on our team. Guys that we want to decide if we're going to pay or not. Um, so here's the thing. So I listed some of the players, and I don't have their contracts and none of that stuff up here. I could have got some of that, but some of the those free agents that we're going to have to make decisions on, for instance, like it's Tyron Smith. Now at the beginning of the season, they was basically trying to get rid of Tyron Smith, but they came up with he was almost like a play for play contract where he would get like $1 million every game he would play, and then all these incentives, based on if you playoff games and stuff like that. So I think he had a base salary of like $6 million or something like that. And I was kind of down on Tyron Smith because he gets hurt all the time, but he played about 14 games this year, and he played well enough to be a all pro, second team all pro. In year, what, 14, 13, 14, whatever the year is. So, so there was a discussion on the show that is he a free agent that you want to keep, or one that you want to, like, okay, send him packing. And he may make it easy for you. He may do what Jason Kelsey did last night. He said, you know what, man, I'm tired of these car collisions. 12, 13 years of these car collisions, because don't nobody have it worse than offensive and defensive linemen, because there's a car crash 60 times a game, man. All right. There's a car crash 60 times a game, man. So nobody has it harder than offensive and defensive line, the constant pounding and crushing on their bodies. And so if he decides, like, you know what, man, I done enough. I done made 8, 9 Pro Bowls. I'm a Hall of Famer. You know what, man, I done enough. And can't nobody say nothing. But if he decides he want to come back, I would be all right with that. But I would be under the assumption, like, look, we got to have a plan to replace him, even if that means sliding Tyler over the tackle and moving one of the other guys to guard or whatever. Because I think that's why they drafted Tyler Smith anyway, to be Tyron Smith's replacement. But he became so good at guard, then it's like you don't want to move him off of there. So if he retires, I would spend one of the premium draft picks on a tackle, a good tackle, one I know that's going to be a fixture at that left side, blind side, for many years to come. So if it were me, I would keep Tyron Smith, if he was willing, but it'd have to be a contract that would be amenable, kind of like the contract he was on, this year. Whereas, we know you're gonna have days where you're not gonna be able to play, and that's fine. We got your backup and plan B in place, and we can move on, during the season and whatnot. But it's messed up if he misses. You got to put Chuma Adoga at left tackle, or left, and we saw in the Miami game that's not a good thing. And he's a free agent too. And I'm like, yeah, he can go. He can go. He can be on the first thing smoking. All right. So Kelsey retirement is going to leave a big hole in the Eagles' offensive line. Oh, without a doubt. We got to keep you awake. No, actually, Crypt Keeper, because I work at night, my schedule is always jacked up. So a lot of times I don't even get out of bed till like 11, 12 o'clock because I'm up until like 3 or 4. So my sleep schedule is all jacked up. I'm sort of a night owl, right? So yeah, you ain't keeping me up. That's why, when I get off work, I'll be up, still have be wound up and stuff. So that's when I do my videos. I come in and sit down and do my videos. Of course, I don't expect nobody to be on my video because they sleep. And then I get up the next morning and say, oh, I had 25, 30 people, 100 people watch my video, but they watched it the next morning. So it's amazing. I got people on tonight, and y'all supposed to be in the bed. It's midnight here. When I'm still going, I'll probably go do something, go watch some TV or something when I get off of here. But yeah, that's going to be a big thing because a lot of people don't know. And I'm not knocking Jalen Hurts or nothing like that, but Kelsey is like the secret sauce on their team because he's the one that keeps him in the right plays. But don't nobody want to talk about that. I have seen him when Jalen's calling the play. Jason calls the protections. Usually quarterbacks do that. They say, hey, such and such in their shift of protection this way. I've seen Dak do that. Hey, I see the pressure coming from over here, and I'll shift the protection over to that way and stuff like that. Seasoned quarterbacks are supposed to set their own protections, right? Jalen don't do that. Jason Kelsey does that for him. I've seen him where they're about to call a play, and he'll check. He's like, no, we're not running that play. And I've seen him do that even at the line of scrimmage and stuff like that. So they're going to miss Jason Kelsey. The offensive line ain't going to be what it was without him. And that push brotherly, whatever you call that, bullcrap play, uh, that's not going to work. He's the reason that play worked. And you notice last night that didn't work. That's the first time I seen that play get stuffed. And you know why it didn't get stuffed? You know why it got stuffed? You know who Jason Kelsey was going up against in that going on Tampa Bay. You know who he was going up against? He's going up against Big Vita Vea. You know how big Vita Vea is? Vita Vea is like 350 pounds. You're not moving him. I don't care how low you get. You're not moving that dude. And so when they did it, and I said, oh, that line ain't going nowhere. They went backwards. Yeah, Vita Vea was like, oh, no, he wasn't having none of that. So I thought that was interesting because I was like, oh, yeah, because like I said, my son's an Eagle fan. He was like, oh, you know what play coming. You know they're finna get this touchdown. And Vita Vea said, no, sir. No soup for you. No soup for you today. Um, so so yeah, that's gonna be the thing for them. But yeah, Tyron Smith is a free agent that we got to make some decisions upon, and then a lot of it's going to depend on whether or not he wants to play because he may do what Jason Kelsey did. He like decide like, hey man, I think they came in the same year if I'm not mistaken, 2010. But Tyron Smith is one. And then also on offense, you got to look at Tyler Biotish, our center, which I'm gonna tell you something about Tyler Biotish. I think I think he's a good center, but I think he's one of the weak links on our offensive line because I see him get dominated a lot. I see him get pushed back in the backfield a lot. But I see him sometimes finesse his way to some, things when we were in the running game. But I've also seen him get pushed back in the running back's lap a lot of times. And we need a running back. If we want to get our running back on track, we need to get a center that can control the middle of the line of scrimmage. And I think because he made a Pro Bowl last year, somebody's going to want to pay him, 14, 13, 14, 12, 13, 14, $15 million a year. And we can let somebody else pay that, and we can get somebody in the draft from one of these teams and maybe get him to, up to snuff or whatever. And we'll see how that happens. But I wouldn't, now if he would take a hometown discount and say, no, we can get you for 8, I would go with that. But, agents want their players to get top money. And like I said, I think he's a good center. But if our offensive line is going to be physical and going to be able to generate yards when we're trying to run the ball late in games, which we're not able to do this year. You can say it's because we didn't have Zeke, but I think it's because we didn't have that push in the middle of the line. And we got some good push on the outsides because Tyler and Tyron on the left side. That's why I'd be running. But if you want to get some in the middle, I think I seen him get pushed back way too many times. So I wouldn't want to pay him unless he was coming to me with a minimal deal. But because he made the Pro Bowl last year, he may be feeling himself a little bit in, Miami or Carolina might want to give him $15 million a year, and I'd be like, man, good luck going ahead, man. Good luck and all ahead. That's what I would say. And then you got guys like Stephon. Let's do the offensive guys for Tony Pollard. He's a free agent because he signed that 1 year, $10 million franchise tag, which I thought was lazy contract work because you didn't want to hammer out the details. I think they could have gave him a 4-year, like 24-year, $22 million contract, which would have been like $5.5 million a year. And you could have prorated some of it up front, and it would have been like a $3-4 million cap hit for about 3 or 4 of them years. And you would have had cap relief rather than giving them a $10 million cap hit on one season. And then, have a clause in there where after 2 years, if you don't do well, we can kind of, we can give you some of the money and then you can go on about your business. There's ways you can do that. I just thought that a salary of the franchise tag is like lazy business. I don't like the franchise tag. That's like lazy front office people that do that kind of stuff. Because I think it hurts you. It hurts you salary cap ways because you can't. There's no finagling the franchise tag. If it's the franchise tag for that player is $18 million, it counts fully 18 against the salary cap for that year's salary. But if it was you gave him 4 years, $22 million or $24 million, that's $6 million a year or $7 million a year, and he'd have took that because he's coming off an injury. He had a broken fibula and a high ankle sprain. And running backs that were healthy wasn't getting but $6 million a year. So it wasn't like he could say, no, I want more. He'd have took it. And you could have spread that money out over 2 years and then had a clause in there after 2 years, you could have got out of it. And it would have gave a salary cap relief. But no, they're not going to keep him past this year, and I don't know that they should. Because I think he took a beating this year, and he gonna want that kind of money next year. And I'm like, no, we're not giving you $10 million. No, we're just not, because the kind of back you are, we have to have a secondary back, because that's the way the NFL is now. You got to have two backs that kind of complement each other. You don't have two of the same kind of backs. You have a thunder and lightning running back team tandem. That kind of what works, because you have some guys that run outside and catch passes, and other guys that run between the tackles. The problem is, because we gave him that franchise tag and gave him $10 million, that made the front office think we can run him up in the middle like he's Zeke, and he's not Zeke. Because we give you money, doesn't make your play style different. It just makes you expensive. Kick my camera again. Going to the chats. 340. I guess you're talking about Vita Vea. Bring back the triplets. They might have a better game. What triplets you talking about, Crypt Keeper? We found a Dallas Cowboy quarterback from Clemson Tigers. Klubik replacing trash card loser Carson Wentz. Awesome. Clemson. Klubnik. I seen him at Clemson. I don't know, man. I'm kind of not high on Clemson quarterbacks now. After Trevor Lawrence is kind of the guy. The other guys since then haven't been all that great, man. And people think that you can just get a guy out of college and they'll be better than established NFL quarterbacks, and a lot of times they don't be. Because you can say Trevor Lawrence, but how long Trevor Lawrence been in the league now? He's got all the talent in the world, but what's he done? He didn't make the playoffs this year. Same thing with Justin Herbert. Got all the talent in the world. Didn't make the playoffs this year. Only been in the playoffs one time in 4 years. I mean, it's because a lot of things you got to learn. College and pros are two different games, and the people think I can just replace a guy with a guy that don't, that you got to earn your stripes. And I think guys like C.J. Stroud muddy the waters in how you think. Think you can just go, and all the guys in college can do that, but and I think he ended up in a good situation too. But this Klubnik dude might be good. I'd like to see him more this year and see what happened. Oh, them dudes, Aikman, Irvin, and Smith. Them the original triplets. Yeah. I'm not letting the loss consume me, but it was a big loss, Crypt Keeper. That was a big loss. Man, that was like, we're going to be talking about that. This is why this loss is on me, Crypt Keeper. I'm going to tell you this. This loss is on me because all next year, it's going to make me think the whole time that I don't care what they do next year. All I'm going to think is like, yeah, but you're going to lose first round of playoffs anyway. I don't care if you go 13-4. I don't care if you go 14-3. I don't care if you go 15-2. I'm going to be saying in the back of my mind, yeah, but. Okay. Because I thought they were so good this year, especially offensively. And the offensive, the deep, I thought they were so, I thought our offense was so complimentary. And I saw, and they let me down in the playoffs like so many other teams have done. So it's like, it don't matter what we do, and it's starting to make me think the things that they say on these 4-letter networks, I gotta go and forgive them. You was right, because I stopped watching them people. Because it's like, y'all don't know what is going on in our locker room. You're just saying what's popular. But damn, they did the same thing that they said we would do. So that's why it's a big loss to me. I'm like, damn, really? Again? It happened again? Again? So yeah. They might get to the second round. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to look. I done lowered my expectation, Crypt Keeper. I'm not even saying they got to get to the Super Bowl. Can we get to the championship game? That's a win for me if you get to the championship game. Because remember, I said yesterday, They are the only team in NFL history that's won 12 games 3 years in a row, which that's hard to do. Teams don't usually win 12 games 3 years. And you know how good you got to be to win 12 regular season games in 3 consecutive seasons? That's hard to do. Even good team, even the great Mahomes and Kansas City weren't able to do that 3 years in a row. Okay? So I'm not poo-pooing that. That's an accomplishment. But having said that, they're the only team to do that and not even reach a conference championship game in the 3 years. So that's the thing. I don't know about that, man. I ain't no expert. I'm like y'all, man. I don't know no more than y'all do. But here's the thing. Um, yeah, I think they need to go to the draft and get us a running back. And I think and then Rico Dowdle, he's a guy, I think you should keep him because he's not going to want much. You can give him, like Vosh Lombardi said, you give him $38 and he'll take it, And his thing is he got to get healthy, but you need to get us a back in the draft, and you let somebody else give Tony Pollard $9 million a year, $8 million a year, or whatever. And so then on defense, you got guys like Stephon Gilmore, which he didn't have a great game Sunday because I think maybe the shoulder was kind of. And I was thinking, well, I don't know what his cap hit is going to be next year. I know they negotiated a deal with him for 2 years. The second year was an option or whatever when they got him. But I think having an experienced corner in the cornerback room and not completely knowing what kind of shape Trayvon Diggs is going to be when he comes back from his ACL, I think it will be good to have a good veteran corner in the room, even though you might limit his snaps a little bit because he is older. Maybe put him in nickel packages, maybe put him in some other things. But him having that veteran voice in a young cornerback room kind of settles them down maybe a little bit. Because I just feel Bland's going to be better because your two outside corners, I'm looking at them being Bland and Trayvon. And maybe put Gilmore and have Gilmore and Jordan Lewis be platoon as the slot corner or whatever stuff, and you got veteran guys in there. But I think that on the outside, I just think you just need good corners. You can't because you can never tell when a guy's gonna go down. Because thank God we had a Stephon Gilmore this year. Because what if we never had acquired him and Trevon Diggs went down? So now you got an injured Jordan Lewis playing an outside corner, and then you got Deron Bland playing the other corner. you know, and I like Lewis, but he's small and certain receivers he's just not going to be able to cover. So I think you keep Stephon Gilmore, and I think at his advanced age, I think he's 32. I think he will probably take a deal that will make you where you can kind of keep him in the salary cap range or whatever. And I think he wants to keep playing. And then Dorrance Armstrong and Dante Fowler. So you're probably going to have to get rid of one of those two pass rushers. Now, for my money, Dante Fowler is a better pass rusher than Dorrance Armstrong. But I'm going to tell you what the Cowboys are going to do. They're going to keep Dorrance Armstrong, and I'm going to tell you why. For two reasons. They're going to keep Dorrance Armstrong because he's younger. He's on a $6 million contract. Okay? And they drafted him. The Cowboys will always rule in favor of a guy they drafted versus somebody from the outside that they brought in. Always. That's why Dante Fowler don't play now. I think now Armstrong did have 7.5, 8 sacks this year. So I'm not poo-pooing him. But I think Fowler, when he gets in there, I think he's a better pass rusher because he's more experienced. This guy's, it's like 5 years in. I think Fowler should get more playing time. But because they drafted Dorrance Armstrong, that's where the internal Jones family compound, like they're a cult. That's why that politics comes into play, that they play Dorrance Armstrong because they drafted him. So That's so there. And of course, Jordan Lewis, which we already talked about. I think they should retain him, but they're going to get rid of one of these two, and I think they're going to get rid of Dante Fowler, and somebody's going to pick up a premium pass rusher on the cheap, and that sort of thing. And then you get to some of the secondary guys, um, like Javon Curse. Now, I think Javon Curse, and I appreciate what he's done for us. He's an outside guy. He's played for the Minnesota Vikings and some other teams. I can't think of some other teams he played. Detroit Lions too, I think. And he's basically been just a bit player. But he came in here and he found a role as like our sort of like our tweener, box and free safety kind of guy. He's kind of been kind of that in between safety. He's played some good games for us. This wasn't his best year. He probably should have been one of them dudes that should have been covering Luke Musgrave on that 38-yard where nobody was in his, you know. You remember that 49ers game where Kittle was by himself. That probably should have been his guy too on that. He didn't have a good year this year. Okay. He's had some injuries here and there. I think he had was it a calf injury at the beginning of training camp? He had something, or a shoulder injury. He had some sort of injury in the season. So he's had some things, and I think, we've drafted safeties. Wanye Thomas, I'd like to see get more playing time. I'd like to see more Israel Mukwamu, who's a kind of like a combination safety and corner. I'd like to see him get a little more playing time. And so I think we could do without Jaron Curse. And then they paid Donovan Wilson, and they paid Malik Hooker to be our free safety. So I think some of the younger guys might be. And of course, I'd also like to see Marquise Bell move back to safety, get him out of the linebacker room. Okay. In addition to that, I think we need to draft a linebacker in our draft, and I think we need to go find us a linebacker in free agency. But they're not going to do it. They don't like nobody else's guys. So what do y'all think? Y'all think anything about any of them guys? And them guys you like to keep? Any of them guys you think is worthy of keeping? Inconsistent run offense and awful run defense. Quan 06, those right there are the keys to the game. I know we're in this era where everybody want to throw the ball 40 times a game, and it's all this motion and all this throwing the ball all over the yard and all this kind of stuff. But and maybe I'm an old dude, get off my lawn stuff guy, whatever. But the game always comes down to blocking and tackling. Always comes down, can you run the ball when you need to, and can you stop the run when you need to? And it always comes back to that. I don't care how sophisticated and newfangled the game gets. It always comes back to, can you run the ball in the fourth quarter when you got a 6-point lead and keep the other team off the ball? Can you get a key first down on a couple of plays? You can run the clock out. And can you keep them from getting a 3rd and 3 when they're running the ball? It's always going to come down to that. And I think in order to do that, you got to have linebackers. You can't be putting 205-pound safeties playing as linebackers and think you're going to stop people from running it. I want to say it was Vosh Lombardi. Who was it that said that? No. It was in that report where the James Slater report that they was talking about that stubbornness thing. Do you know the Packers ran 54 plays? Do you know that on 48 of those plays, which is roughly all of the plays except 6, if my math serves me right, the Cowboys were in either a dime, a nickel, or a dime package, meaning they either had 5 or 6 defensive backs in the game, when in the second half, the Packers ran the ball down our throats. But we were in dime and nickel packages the whole second half. On every down, every possession, every snap, except 6. You talking about stubborn. That's what they were talking about. And that just came to my mind that report came out. Packers ran 54 plays, and on 48 plays, they were in dime and nickel and dime coverages, meaning you got 5 or 6 defensive backs, and you have 200-pound guys. You got an abundance. You got 5, 6 or more 200-pound guys, and you're trying to stop the run. What you think was going to happen? You was going to get pushed up and down the field. So That's what we're talking about. So I think when you're talking about that, Quan 06, it comes down to, yeah, we couldn't run the ball we needed to. Like, yes, Tony Pollard made some nice runs this year sometimes, but there was a lot of times he got stuffed in the backfield because our center can't get push, and Tony Pollard is not an assertive in between the tackles runner. And because we aren't able to do that on a consistent basis, it made Dak have to take more of the offense on his shoulders. And you like to be able to run the ball and get you 4 yards when you need them. You'd like to be able to do that. And then on defense, when they're in, whatever personnel grouping they're in, you like to be able to stuff that run for like a 2 yard gain and make it 2nd and 8 where they have to throw the ball, which plays into our defensive scheme. Okay. We didn't even use Lepke in short yards. No, I didn't even see him in the game. Did he even play? I didn't even see him. Um, I think the defensive play ripped the heart out of our offense. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what it did. Because somebody I saw today, like I said, I watch so much content and all the different things I watch sometimes blur together, and that's why I don't cite it because I can't remember where I got it from. But I'd like to let people know I didn't come up with this. I try to be honest. I didn't come up with this. But the point that they was trying to make, and what they was trying to say was that yes, Dak played a D minus game. Now I said D as in dog, not B as in boy. He played a D minus, D plus, D minus game. Okay. But the problem is the offense was trying to figure out because they was out of sync. I don't know what CD was going through. He had some sort of thing. And then, of course, I think the defensive backs got in his head. I don't know if you guys remember the play where Zaire Alexander kind of bumped him. And a lot of people saying, CD should have gotten his face. Like, dude, what are you doing? Well, you can't do that to me. And he kind of just took it and went on to the sideline. I'm like, God, that's not, you can't do that. And because if you let a dude punk you like that, that means on a tough play, you weren't going to fight for the football. He's in his head. So I don't know if that was what was going on. And I don't know if you saw the play at the time when Mike McCarthy went over there and put his hands on CeeDee Lamb's shoulders like he was trying to say, son, are you okay? We good? But somebody said is that, the offense might have needed 2 or 3 possessions to kind of figure their thing out. You can't give up a 93-yard drive while they're figuring it out. And then like when we got when Dak, took the sack and took us out of field goal range and we punted, I think that was the drive they went 93 yards. Like you are you are welcome to stop a team anytime you get ready. And even when Dak threw the interception to Zaire on that Cooks play, that was like at the 18, 19-yard line. There was a penalty on that play, I think. You didn't have to give up a touchdown there. You could have held them to 3. Just because the offense crapped the bed don't mean you have to too. That's all I'm just saying, And I thought because the defense was so inept, it made the offense have to play desperate football. And like I said yesterday, we don't play. We're a methodical team. We are not a quick strike, throw an 80-yard play team. We don't run routes like that. We don't scheme it like that. And so we're a 12 play, 10 play, 75-yard play team. Take up 5-6 minutes on the clock and keep your offense on the sideline. And we doing that and then stop you and then do it again. And we're up 14-3. And then now you at our mercy. That's our scheme. That's how we play. Now, if we get down 20-0, now we got to throw the ball every down. Now, these little short passes don't work now because they'll just let you have them and tackle you. So that's what I'm saying. The defense did not allow our offense an opportunity to figure out what was going on before now we're in desperation mode. That's all I was trying to say. No, Pollard is not a power back. Rico Dowdle is supposed to be our power back, but of course he has an injury history. He's been here almost as long as Pollard. They drafted him in 20, but he's often hurt. Never makes it out of training camp. Yeah, I like Hunter Lemke. I like him, except for that. I think they kind of lost faith in him when he fumbled that ball in that Miami Dolphins game. But you can't do that to young guys, man. You don't never want to do that because you hurt that dude's confidence. You don't want to do that, but you know, um, yeah, Curse is over the hill. But in addition to that, he's just not good. He just wasn't good this year. He was like probably the worst guy in our secondary this year. And coming to this into the season, if you'd have asked me who I thought had the best secondary in the NFL, I would have said we have it. I said, 'cause we got Diggs and we got Gilmore, and we got Bland at the slot, and we got Jordan Lewis coming off the bench. Okay, and then we got Curse, Hooker, and Donovan Wilson, probably the best trio of safeties in the NFL. I said we got the best secondary in the NFL. But then, of course, Trayvon Diggs went down, and then Jaron Curse had a subpar season. So now we're not the best secondary in the league. We're probably top 10-ish, maybe. You're going to be loyal to those you draft. That's a bigger reason not to hire Belichick. Uh, okay, he's not the same the last couple of years. Musgrove was so open you could have thrown him a tee. Yeah, I could have. And I ain't got that. When I saw that, you know what I thought about Crypt Keeper? I thought that was like me and my son throwing footballs in the backyard against air. And where we live now, I got a backyard, but we don't throw football in it. It's not conducive for that. But the house we lived in, 5 years ago, had a deep backyard that was probably from the back screen porch to the property line was probably 30 yards, maybe. And so a lot of times we'd be back to throwing the football. And so when I see him, that's just like me throwing the football to my son, and he's at the back of the yard. There's nobody covering him but the fence. That's what that was like. When I seen Luke Musgrave, I'm like, he best well could have called for a fair catch. that's how, that's how open he was. Running game ain't going nowhere. Yeah. Maybe we need Josh Allen, a QB. Look, I like Josh Allen. Josh Allen makes a lot of mistakes too, but he makes a lot of plays though. So you kind of get a little bit of eh, eh. But I think they got a chance to go to the Super Bowl this year though. Because I still think Josh Allen does what Josh Allen does. I just think that Josh got a running game now, and I think now you can't key on him running the football now. He can even run like zone read plays now because you got to guard James Cook. James Cook ran for like 1,200 yards this year. He's never had that, and now you got that, and he's got probably two of the best set of young tight ends in the game too, with Kincaid and Dawson Knox, and to go with Stephon Diggs. Bill's gonna be a handful, and Gabe Davis, they're gonna be a handful. They're gonna get. I got them beating Kansas City. So while I'm doing this, let me plug our me and my cousins pick'em show. We do a pick'em show every weekend, every Saturday. I don't know what time it is because we all like family men and we got family responsibilities. He's a young dad, so he's got young kids. So sometimes it'll be 9 o'clock in the morning, but sometimes he's got errands to run. It'll be 1 o'clock in the afternoon. But on Saturdays we always do a pick'em show, and we pick every week of the year we pick the 16 however many games, and we give up whatever analysis we think we have on the games and stuff. So we do them also, even though the Cowboys are out of it. I'm still gonna pick the rest of the games. I got the Bills beating Kansas City. That's my upset special for the week. Okay, that was giving y'all that. But yeah, I'll pick them show. Pick them gonna be division round pick them show. So look for that. I'll be airing that on Saturday morning or Saturday afternoon. Okay. What are you saying no to, Crypt Keeper? What do you not like? And I just said. Still him here running a little late. Breaking news, we just saw Bill Chen. No! No! Where'd you get that from? You're kidding. No! Oh my goodness. I gotta look that up, man. I got my surface over here, man. I gotta look that up, man. I gotta look that up. Man, what hey, Danny, Where you get that from, dude? Oh my goodness. Now I see what you mean by no. You was talking to him, but this look that's up, man. I was about to get off the line, man. I ain't finna get off now. Shoot. I'm not saying I hope it ain't true. I'm just saying uh I'm still not seeing it yet, man. Uh, I don't know, man. I'm still waiting to see. I haven't seen it yet. Hope he's not. Are you playing? Are you pulling my leg, Cowboy Daddy? Are you pulling my leg? I think he's playing. I think he's playing, man. I think he's playing. I think dude's playing with us, man. I think he's pulling our leg. I'm definitely looking because I know he's been out there. I had him going to the Falcons because the Falcons was going to let him do whatever he needs to do, and I don't know that the Cowboys going to let him do everything he needs to do. Um, yeah, he got a link. Yeah, give me that link, man. I like to see that because I'm looking it up in my search window here, and I don't see. You know, it's all about people speculating. You know, that would be a perfect fit, and there's other people saying it wouldn't be a perfect fit because they didn't think him and Jerry could coexist, and you know that kind of thing. But I think that my thing is this. My thing with hiring a defensive coach like Belichick is what's going to happen to our offense because he's not shown that he can do anything. You bet, and he bet not bring Bill O'Brien here because I'm boycotting. Cannot stand Bill O'Brien. Bill O'Brien ruined my Alabama team. As you see, I got my Alabama stuff on today. you know, uh, yeah, because I think he ruined Bryce Young. You know, with his predictable, antiquated route systems. I think because he don't know offense, and you know, whereas I think he do wonders for the defense. I guarantee he's not going to be running no dime personnel against 12 personnel. I guarantee he's not doing that. Uh, yeah, they met in Aspen, Colorado, on a ski trip back in like 1995 or six or something like that. He was between jobs, and they talked. I read that somewhere. I don't know where I be coming upon these stories, man, but I heard that they were at a ski. They was at a ski thing, and they sent it. Oh, where'd you send it to? You sent it to where? Where'd you put it? I'm looking for it. Where is it at? Uh, I just sent the link. Where'd you send it to? I'm looking. I don't see it, man. Where'd you send it to? Oh, I got that on the thing. I don't know. Don't know, man. I don't know. Don't know. But that would be an interesting development, man. There's a part of me that would like it. But then there's a part of me that would like because I'm my thing is uh, my thing is uh, it's in the chat. I'm looking in the chat. I don't see it, man. Because it's a ton of chats in there. I don't see them because my chats are set up different than because it's not on YouTube. It's like in a let's see here. Where's the link? He said he just sent the link. I don't see it, man. I'm sorry, I don't see it. Sent the link. Post a link in the chat. I posted the link in the chat. I sent it again. But it's wherever it's going, I'm not seeing it. I don't know. Because all the stuff, the links go right on here in this thing. Because I see everything y'all saying, but I'm not seeing that. Golly, I want to see that, man. Just tell me what's the source. I'll look it up myself. Just tell me who it is. I'm going to look that up myself. I got to see that, man. I needs to see that right there. Because whereas, like I said, I like the discipline that he's going to bring. Because and the defense. Because you can say what you want to about. Tell you what, man. I don't know, man. I don't know how I can tell you this because I would say send it to my email, but I don't have my email attached to this. I'll have to go over here and send it to look at it. How about just copy and paste it into the text window? You know, just the and maybe that's what you've done. I don't know why I don't see it in here because that's everything that you type in here. I'm getting it. Yeah, I have an email. It's fletchall@comcast.net. FLETCHALL at comcast.net, which I don't like putting my email out there like that, but I trust y'all dudes. But yeah, man, I'd like to see that, man. Send that to me. Ain't only one with Brady, but you know, did he have any other competent quarterbacks though? You know, but people forget though. You forget that he had a playoff season in Cleveland, and they won a playoff game, and actually they beat New England, 1995. And of course, the team left after the next year, and he fired everybody. Everybody gone because the whole organization left. The idea was, I think they were building something because I think Nick Saban was on his staff. I think he was his defensive coordinator or something like that. Well, Drew Bledsoe, but you know he only had Drew Bledsoe that 1 year. Remember, Drew Bledsoe got hurt. Remember? Drew Bledsoe got hurt. And they brought in Tom Brady. He got hit by Mo Lewis. And that they brought in. That's the only reason Tom Brady even got in the game. Because Drew Bledsoe had went to Super Bowl with New England when Bill Parcells was the coach. You know. And you know, Drew Bledsoe came to the Cowboys. He wasn't that good when he came to us. So he came to us in like what 2000. Remember, Tony Romo took his job in 2006. He was here from 2005 and 2006. You know, and they went 5-11. Okay, but with I think it was Bernie Kosar? They went 11-5 his last year in Cleveland, and they went to the playoffs and won a playoff game. That's getting forgotten because Cleveland was so bad the years he went there. Because they were a bad team when he went there. I think they was like 2-14 when he went there. When he left, remember he left them the year after they won the Super Bowl in '91 with the Giants. Everybody left because remember Parcells left and they went with Ray Hadley, and then Bill Belichick thought he was going to be the head coach, but they went with Ray Hadley. He took the job at New England. And he took the job at Cleveland. I'm sorry, and they was like 2-14. They were terrible, and I think they went 2-14, 4-12, and maybe 5-11. And then last year they went like 11-5. They were actually good that year, and he had started to kind of put them together. Antonio Langham played for them. that year. And if if Alabama fans remember him, I remember that. It might have been Testaverde. It was one of them dudes. It was either did I say Kozar? It was one of them dudes. They went to Miami. I got to get school right. Let me take a look. Let's see. We'll get off of here in a minute, guys. Let's see here. We'll get on off of here, man. Here just a minute. Kind of check out some stuff here. Let me see here. So, trying to find my stuff here, guys. Hang on. Not seeing it so far. Not seeing it. I'm gonna keep looking though. I'm gonna keep looking. But anyway, I'm gonna keep looking for that. You can send it to me if you like. I'm gonna go ahead and get on off of here. And I won't tell you guys enough how much I appreciate you guys talking with me, man. Chatting with me, man. That kind of makes the stream so much better. So hope I can get my numbers up where I can kind of like do little things and have other stuff where I can afford to do some different things and stuff. So I'm gonna try to. So please like, share, and subscribe to other people, and share and subscribe. Please share, tell other people about it. If y'all think I'm kind of halfway okay, if I'm kind of halfway all right, man, let some other folks know that Uncle Fred's over here and he kind of an all right dude, man. I think I kind of am all right. Y'all all right too. Y'all kind of cool too, and you guys seem to jump in with me every night, so we'll try to do this or whatever. But anyway, man, like, comment, subscribe to the Uncle Fred Sports Experience. Guarantee you guys, I will not make some coffee. If I drank some coffee at Crib Keeper, I never get to because it's 1 o'clock. So, but anyway, we'll catch you guys tomorrow on the maybe I might do a video tomorrow. We'll see. But definitely, if I find out this is the truth, man, I might be on 3 hours tomorrow. We're gonna talk all about it. I promise you that. So if it is, man, y'all come in and join with me tomorrow night if I do. All right, y'all promise me that. Y'all talk with me. Me only cowboy friend is now dead. Oh, my only cowboy friend now. Well, I'm your friend now, man. I'm your guy. You got me. I'm still here. I'm still kicking. But anyway, man, I'll catch you guys on the next video. God bless.